Welcome back to a brief guide for MODULUX v2. Today's guide will briefly cover the elevator API. So, without further ado, let's get started. Now, when you initially take a look at your elevator model, you may be asking, where is the API? Because the API is generated by the controller, the game must be running. Now, of course, we're going to go ahead and head up over here, and we're going to press the little blue button here that is going to play the game. Now you'll see that everything boots up. If we go ahead and head into the Explorer, you'll see that we have both a data API, an API, and a remote. What we're going to be focusing on today is the API right here. So what does this API do, and what can you do with it? Well, if you go and take a look at the API once again, you'll notice that it's also called a bindable event. This means that you can send and receive events from it. So how do you exactly send and receive events? Let's start with working on receiving events first. Now, receiving events is pretty simple. If we take a look at this little example I wrote down here, you'll see that I just made it wait for the API on the model that we have in the workspace, and then once it receives an event, it's going to print it. API.event just means that this event will fire every time something is fired to the event, in which this case, the controller fires to this event. And then we just wait. So this is waiting until an event is reached. So let's go ahead and open up the door. You'll see that our first event actually shows up as on button pressed. Now you'll see that it says button equals front door open. This basically means that the controller sent an event saying, hey, a user just pressed the button. So that's one of many events that we can listen to. Now let's go ahead and create a little example code. So let's go and do task.wait 5. And let's go ahead and add a call. So let's do API:fire. That is how we're going to fire to the event. And we're going to do add car call. Now, everything for the current API usage will be listed in the description. And in this case, we're going to go ahead and add a car call for floor 3. So in order to do that, we're going to want to type in a call equals 3. That should tell the controller to go ahead and add a call for the 3rd floor. Let's test it out. So after a couple seconds, the elevator should start going to the 3rd floor. And just like that, automatically it takes off and it's going to start going up to the 3rd floor. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into API receiving. Now, as you can see, I wrote up a little example script here. You can see that I am receiving an event, and you can see these two arguments here called protocol and params, short for parameters. Now, if you're wondering what these two values do, that's what I'm going to go over now. So protocol is basically the name of the event. And in this line here, you'll see that I'm checking if the protocol is on button pressed. So this just means the name for the event. And then params is basically the data. So what is being passed, like what's going on here. So for example, in on button pressed, the data we have is params.button. So it's basically a table. Now, if we go ahead and run this example code here, you'll see that in the output, if we go ahead and start pressing buttons, you'll see that in the output, it starts printing a bunch of stuff like, you know, button phone has been pressed, button 3 or floor 3 has been pressed, etc. So it basically just prints every time a button has been pressed. So if you want to go ahead and create your own script to interact with the API, just keep in mind things that I mentioned earlier. Remember to use wait for child when getting the API, so that way it doesn't try to index an instance that doesn't exist. And again, all of the API calls and event received data will be linked in the description below. So that pretty much concludes today's guide. I hope you guys found this guide helpful, and if you guys would like to see more guides like this, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any guides. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next guide.